What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/IDoWorkHereLady. This story's called, I Know, I Installed It. IT guy here, worked in the field for almost 25 years, and now am considered a global expert in my specialty. Wow. I'm one of the people who made sure that anything on the internet was permanent, and had a hand in building a major cloud service. iCloud, the very service that was hacked to leak all the nude pictures of celebrities. You're one of those people. Kidding. In the early 2000s, I was already considered an expert and was asked by my employer to present about a product at a bank who had just purchased it. I was part of a team with two other guys. Each of us was going to give a technical presentation to the IT department. The first guy had been talking for about 5 minutes when someone entered the room and things started going downhill. He was heckling us.
Well, when I was at
Insert major retailer.
we had problems with that and blah blah blah.
The guy had the most annoying, nasal, snide voice just dripping with,
I'm going to blather on about how smart I am by putting you down.
God, I wanted to punch him. But even worse, I had to do my presentation in front of him. Maybe he'd stop after the first guy was finished. That'd be nice. Oh no, he didn't. The next guy got up, talking about a different but related topic and its technical features, and he laid into him.
Well,
Insert major retailer.
had so much trouble with CSI that we had to blah blah blah.
Oh, wonderful. What I didn't notice was how the other people in the room were reacting to him. He was getting the side-eye, eat schnitzel and die mother-father looks, and blatant glares from all of the IT guys there. In retrospect, why the manager there didn't shut him up is still a mystery. So when my turn came, I decided to just plow through things and endure him. I started talking about my product, and sure enough, he had to say something.
Well, at
Insert major retailer.
we had one of these and it gave us a lot of trouble with authenticating into Windows domain servers.
This was before Active Directory came out. Not relevant to the story, but it gives the tech folks an idea of when. I stood there and listened to him, just nodding along. I can feel this one, no sweat. I know. I installed it. Dead silence. The OS was about 3.2 or 3.3, I think. I went on, not realizing what had happened. Now, we're on version 6, and if I remember right, it was a Windows authentication issue, and it worked perfectly after a patch. 2 seconds later, it hit me. Oh, crap! I just shut down the client! But I continued on with my presentation and he left shortly afterwards, before I finished. All the IT guys came up and apologized, telling me he'd just come over from Insert major retailer and couldn't stop talking about how they did things and why it was better. One guy said he was an ass and they couldn't stand him. Outside the bank, everyone was laughing and congratulating me for shutting him down, saying he'd stepped in it and stepped in it good. We were almost at lunch when we met the sales guy who had been on the phone, and the first thing he asked was, "Who's Joe?" Not my name. Me? I replied, not certain how this was going to go, but he shook my hand. That was freaking brilliant! I was so mad at that jerk, and when you shut him down, I jumped up and started punching at the phone, yelling, "Yes, yes, yes, take that, butthole!" I've told that story over and over since. It never gets old and never has happened again. I honestly don't want it to. I'm a professional that takes great pride in my work, and he was the total opposite of one. It speaks volumes of their hiring practices that let someone like that get through. You know what? That must have felt badass. It must be like how it is debating freaking Ben Shapiro when he's got the podium and the platform. God. But then again, this guy was still at least bringing up somewhat relevant things. I'm sorry, I don't like Ben Shapiro that much. But that must have felt pretty cool, having that guy so excited. I need people like that in my life, man. That's cool. Alright, this story's called Not Who You Expected to See at the Front of the Class. I'm one of those people who can't sit still, and I have a couple of jobs. I started off in the emergency services, but drifted into IT. Once in IT, I did a part-time degree in computing, and then got a second job teaching part-time at the university where I got my bachelor's. I went on to get a master's in education alongside my teaching. I now work part-time for my IT employer and work teaching a few online and face-to-face courses at the university. The university also offers short courses in some technology topics, which I also teach as I have instructor certifications from the various vendors. This sort of sets the scene. Last year, the company I work for was taken over and we had a new management team arrive. Most of the team are okay and will ask about things they're unsure of, apart from one who has a really inflated opinion of himself. We haven't really had much to do with each other, but he has seen me in meetings and I've had some negative feedback on the project work I've done, which can be classed as someone flexing their muscles. You know, I suppose this does work, but I would have done X, Y, or Z instead. I discovered he was not really interested in those lower down on the food chain, so he didn't do a great deal of due diligence on who he was working with. A month or so back, we were on a conference call, and I don't have my video turned on for Teams meetings, just an avatar. In the middle of the meeting, it was announced that there would be training on some of the new hardware we were deploying, and that the sessions would be run by the university I teach at. I already knew all about this and had prepared a little overview of what would be taught. Before I got a chance to comment, our manager chipped in.
I can't see the point of this. What can they teach us at a university? We have tech guys here doing the work. Those who can do. Those who can't, teach.
Not the wisest comment. Roll forward a couple of weeks, and I'm standing at the front of my classroom at the university with the faculty dean. My PowerPoint slides are ready to go, and the class starts arriving. In walks the manager, and he immediately recognizes me and starts to walk over, asking why I was there, as I wasn't booked on this course. The dean asks him to take a seat as the class will begin shortly. The manager looks a little puzzled, but takes a seat. One or two others from the day job walk in, and there are a few amused looks passed between them. They have figured out something the manager hasn't. The clock hits the top of the hour and the course officially starts. The dean turns to the class and starts his introduction.
Hello and welcome to the course. I'm the faculty dean and I would like to say hi and introduce you to OP, who is your tutor for this course.
The look on the face of the manager made my day. I'm taking great pleasure in pointing out all the places he has done wrong in his assignments, usually along the lines of, yes, this approach would work, but it is much more efficient to do X, Y, or Z, especially as that is the accepted best practice for this technology.
Oh, you just freaking knocked his head off and took a dump down his neck,
figuratively speaking, intellectually speaking, and that is something I can admire, strategic defecation. Alright, this story's called Manager Comes to Talk to Customer. Customer says,
"Who is this? I told you to get your manager up here."
This is my first post, so let me know if I've done something wrong. So this didn't happen directly to me, but happened to one of my managers. I was the original employee trying to help the customer. Sorry this is so long. Anyway, I work at a grocery store and always work the closing shift, so I end up dealing with some pretty rude customers frequently. A few weeks ago, I encountered one of the rudest customers ever in my 3 years at the grocery store. Now this happened about 9:30 at night, and I was one of the 2 employees still working the front end to help customers check out their groceries. It had been a very busy day, so my coworker and I had to split up to get everything done. I stayed up front to help the customers while he was finishing the tasks we needed to get done, and because I was alone, only the self-checkout was open. There had been no customers for a bit, so when I saw a customer start checking out her groceries at the self-checkout, I walked up to her, said hi, and asked if there was anything she would like help with. She was very polite, said hi, and said she didn't need help, so I walked away and kept myself busy with cleaning. When she finished and went to pay, her card was declined. Knowing that something had gone wrong, I walked up to see what was going on. Seeing her card had been declined, I told her what her options were. 1, she could try her card a second time, as the systems and pin pads at the store weren't the best. 2, she could use another form of payment. And 3, I could transfer her transaction to one of the regular registers where she could try her card again and would tell me why it was being declined if it got declined again. Still being polite, she opted to go with the first option and tried her card a second time. Again, her card was declined. This is when things went south. She turned to me with the look all Karens have and said very rudely,
"Fix this!"
I walked back up to her and said, "Your options are still the same as before. For me to do anything, I would have to transfer the transaction to a regular register. She declined and tried her card again. It was declined for a third time. Again, she said, "Fix it!" Now, like I said before, it was a busy day, and I was stressed and tired, so I was getting annoyed. As politely as I could, I said, "Ma'am, like I said before, I can't do anything about this unless I transfer the transaction to a regular register." She wasn't having it and responded, "No, you can fix it here." Once again, I said, "Ma'am, like I've said 3 other times, I cannot do anything about this unless I transfer the transaction to a regular register." She really didn't like that, and out came the line I really didn't want to hear. "You are being frickin' rude to a customer. You can't do that. Get your manager up here now. I won't let you get away with this." I looked at her in surprise, then thought, what the heck? Why not? Nothing I'm saying is getting through to her anyway. So I walk over to the phone and page the manager to call the extension of the phone I was using. Apparently, the manager was close to the front of the store, so rather than calling the phone, he just came to the front. When I saw him, I went up to him and said, "Hey manager, this customer would like you to talk to her. Her card won't go through and she's not letting me do what I can to help her." As I turn around to point out the customer to my manager, her jaw drops and she becomes even more angry and said, "Who is this? I told you to get your manager up here. This is just another customer. Now get your manager up here." Now, the managers don't have to wear the same uniform as the rest of us, which is blue or black jeans, a solid color collared shirt, an apron with the company name on it, and a name tag. The managers just have to wear business casual clothes and a name tag. And that is what my manager was wearing. Upon hearing this, my manager said, "I am the manager. My name is Manager." He pointed at his name tag and continued, "What seems to be the problem?" The rude customer starts ranting. "I tried to pay and my card isn't going through and this employee isn't doing anything to help. All she did was say, 'like I said,' multiple times, very rudely, and say nothing can be done, that she has to transfer the transaction. She should have just fixed it here where all my stuff is. And now I tried my card 4 times and my phone says I have been charged 4 different times." Now, this might not sound like she is speaking rudely, but throughout all of this, she is dropping an F-bomb like every other word. After the rude customer finishes her rant, the manager turns to me and asks, "What needs to be done to help her?" He asks because he is one of the managers that doesn't know a whole lot about what is done up front at the registers, as he is a grocery manager. I respond saying, "I would have to transfer the transaction to a regular register and have her try her card again. The system will then tell me why the card is being declined." My manager says to do it, so I transfer the transaction to a regular register and say, "Ma'am, please try your card again." She trudges over to the pin pad I gestured to, groaning, and what a shocker! Her card got declined for a 5th time. The system gave me a message that basically told me I couldn't do anything about it and that customer would have to contact her bank to figure out what is going on. She was not having it and erupted in yelling directed at me and my manager. She was claiming that her card had been charged for a 5th time, but that's not possible with the systems we have. Now, like I said, the manager that night didn't know a lot about the registers. He knew how to cashier, but he didn't know what to do. So he says that he has to call the assistant store director to figure out what to do. He does so and we wait. During this time, more customers are coming through and need help, so I remove myself from the situation and help the other customers. At some point, my manager gets the card to go through and the rude customer leaves. I did overhear though that because she had claimed that her card had been charged a total of 6 times, that the assistant store director would call her in the morning to sort everything out. After the rude customer left, the manager comes up to me and says, "She was rude, right?" And I reply, "Yes, very." The manager goes back to his word and the rest of the night is pretty much uneventful. I thought I heard the last of that rude customer, but the next day, the assistant store director talked to me about what had happened and wanted to get my side of the story as well. I told him everything and he nodded saying he thought so and told me that the customer had told him that I was the rude one and refused to help her. Luckily for me, the assistant store director knows me well and knows that I would never be rude to a customer. He also said that my story matched the story that the manager from the night before told him. Thankfully, since then, I have not had to deal with this customer again. But working in a grocery store, there are always rude customers, and according to my coworkers, I seem to have to deal with most of them. Just my luck, right? Yes, because dealing with crappy people builds character. It actually makes me think of the Vivek from the Elder Scrolls. Now, that's a whole can of worms that requires a lot of explanation and crap, but essentially, he was a god, okay? And his people, the Dunmer, the Dark Elves, and he was born originally in the original timeline that was unaltered by the Tribunal, was just a regular elf too, if not a hermaphrodite. But essentially, he became a god, or the Tribunal became gods, and they ruled over their area as a king would, or 3 kings, I guess, but with the powers of a god. So he caused this golden age of prosperity for his people. But toward the end of his reign, you know, when the Neverine comes, he realized his mistake. He didn't give his people enough challenges and enough tribulations to ascend like he had. He wanted that for all of his people. And so, it made me think of that. I don't know why. Oh, because you have to deal with crappy people. He didn't let them deal with crappy enough times, and they were weaker for it. I'm not justifying cruelty, though. Don't get me wrong. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.